I get questions from time to time about power animals, and I would like to share a little bit more information about working with power animals that have come from some of these questions. My previous videos have been about power animals, what power animals are from my perspective, different categories of power animals, which is not exclusively mine and is certainly not shared by all traditions, but the idea that there is a journey animal, a totem animal, a messenger animal, and a shadow animal seem to be very useful in helping people to understand their experience and to work with power animals or spirit animals as in their daily lives. Another video talked about working with power animals and how to see them not just as symbols like in a dream, but more than that, more deep and rich than that, and how to explore what kind of message or what the message is these particular animal guides are bringing to them. We'd like to take that just a little bit deeper now and address a couple of interesting issues that, again, have come up in questions and in discussions in our various circles. One thing that is very important is to recognize that when we are encountering animal spirits, and I'm going to talk just about the context of the journey at this point, when we encounter animal guides or animal spirits in the journey process, as I mentioned before, they are bringing us a message. And that message is sort of encrypted in a symbolic language. It's not always linear or spoken or in English or those sorts of things. That it is symbolic. It's a symbolic representation of what Spirit has to share with us about any particular issue or question. Now, one thing that is really important to keep in mind is that in a shamanic context, these animals that we meet are not just symbols like we would experience a symbol in a dream. These animal spirits really do exist. They have their own reality, they have their own life, and they have their own reason for being that is not exclusive just to me. It is that they actually do live in the spirit world. When we're not there, they are still living there. And so I would like for you to think about that and to work with your animal guides from the perspective of they are real. And when they show up for you, not just to bring you a message, but to be with you, to share with you, and to explore you as much as you are exploring them. It's like having a best friend in some cases. The animal guides that I've worked with for years have become really good friends. And sometimes on my journeys, I just go to hang out with them because it's fun to do, and I just want to touch base and see how things are going with them too. So take the experience of these power animals deeper and reflect on how it would be if this was actually your best friend, and how would you treat that individual? How would you work with that individual to help you? What would you do to help them? Take it a little bit deeper and see how that feels for you. I think what you'll find is that it will enrich the experience, and as you get to know the various animals even more, then you learn more from them, you get more energy from them, you get more information from them, and they can help you, not only in the spirit world, but in everyday life as well. To give you just a quick example, we've talked about messenger animals before, but here's an interesting and different experience. Two individuals were talking on their front porch, and the conversation was about spirituality and some very deep things that they were thinking and exploring together. And one of them has as her totem animal a robin. And she had never seen a robin before in physical reality, but as they were having this conversation, she noticed that sitting on the eave of the house next door was a robin. And this robin, for all the world, seemed to be looking at them and just paying attention. It was a wonderful experience for her. She was all smiles. It was very exciting. And so she asked in a circle later, what did that mean? And my response was, it didn't mean anything. The robin was just there to check you out and to say hello in this reality, to show you that it is interested and curious, not only in the journey process, but also in everyday life. That really can happen. Later on, she said that as she was driving along, a robin flew in front of her car, and she wondered what that meant. And I said, it probably doesn't mean anything, except that whenever you and any animal cross paths, whenever you intersect with each other, there's something important about that. It may not be clear in the moment, but there's something important about that experience that deserves some thought and some journeying on, perhaps. So the point of these stories is to reinforce the idea that these animal beings that we experience are more than just symbols, more than just dream objects, but they really have a life of their own and their own efficacy as well. Another interesting question that comes up from time to time is people wanting to know who their animal spirit is. I take that to mean that what they're really curious about is what their totem animal is. And that's fine. It's a interesting, fun thing to do and can lead to a lot of wonderful explorations. But what most often trips them up is that the idea that they either want it to be a certain animal, or they're afraid that if in the journey the animal that they want shows up, and then therefore they can't trust the experience. So I understand completely what that is about, and if you know the story of how I came about my spirit name, the Falcon, you'll see pretty quickly how that can turn out to be quite an amusing journey in itself. But what I would say to people that have this kind of concern is, don't worry so much about it. The totem animal is a reflection of who you are, and it will show up for you. As long as you look and as long as you ask, it will show up for you, and don't be surprised if it is something that you're really wanting. Here's an example. I got an email from a person the other day who wanted to know what his or her spirit animal was, but he was afraid of going on the journey because he was afraid that it would be what he wanted. He's always had an affinity for bear, and so he was afraid that if bear showed up as his totem, that he couldn't believe the journey, that it was somehow unreal, or he was making it up, or all of those different kinds of barriers that we encounter from time to time. My response to him is pretty simply that, think of it this way: bear's always been with you. You've thought about bear for a long time, and you've had a relationship with bear. It may not have been in the context of a totem, but certainly bear is an important being for you. So it may or may not be your totem. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that bear shows up for you. You have an affinity for it. Do a journey. Connect with bear. Play with bear. Learn from bear. And just see. It could very well be that bear is either a guide for you, or a guardian for you, or perhaps a totem for you. It's hard to know unless you do the journey and you ask. So this is a kind of question that people encounter sometimes in working with power animals on a deeper level. But my suggestion is, if you take it deeper and you begin to really treat these animal guides as if they were real individuals, and if you don't worry so much about whether you're getting it right or wrong, but open to the opportunity, the possibility that what you're getting really is important. And it could be you don't understand why it's important, but it is important because it's showing up for you. Our relationship with our animal guides transcends the 30-minute or 15-minute or hour-long journeys that we have. It's an ongoing connection. And the more that you work with the power animals that way, the more you will realize how they affect you in every aspect of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, in terms of spirit, and not only in the journey process, but in your everyday life and your experience with others. So I invite you to take it to the next level and have fun. I'd like to give you another personal example of this relationship being longer term. Uh, One of my journey animals is an anaconda. She takes me to very specific places in the lower world. But another one, as I mentioned before, is a totem animal that I have that's called falcon. Now, what's interesting about that is that once I began to work with these different guides and spirits, what I began to remember was that when I was much younger, when I was in junior high or even earlier, I used to draw logos of a falcon. And I would draw the falcon and its claws and it being and flying and all these sorts. I knew exactly what this falcon logo was going to look like. And someday I was going to grow up and I was going to have a business by the name of Falcon. I also realized as I was remembering this that I used to draw serpents, snakes, especially large ones, which I began to understand may very well have been an early recognition of anaconda as one of my power guides. So you see, if you just open your eyes and you open your thoughts, you open your mind to the possibilities, you may actually remember the connection that you might have forgotten for many, many years.